Gary, a tough afternoon. Can you give us your thoughts on the performance?
Yeah, tough afternoon in terms of the way we've worked incredibly hard this week. We had a free week, which is always good. Worked really hard. Tried something different to try and be a bit more proactive at home. So we've gone 4-3-3. We've worked on being a little bit higher up the pitch. We've worked on pressing the ball and keeping it one side because we know that they tried to play out from the back. I think after 20 seconds we got them into the perfect position. The left side centre back's got it, who's actually right-footed. We end up with Lolly, I think, that far back up the pitch. We don't really go in as committed as we should do. We let them out. Lolly then proceeds to run past three of our players, ends up in the box, scuffs his shot a little bit, and it ends up going in over Thomas, which I think he scored here last time, and I think he's a Birmingham fan, so hopefully he won't be that welcome in some of the pubs across the city this evening. But no, incredibly disappointing start, and I think when you start that badly so early on, maybe one or two of the players were a little bit shell-shocked. I'm sure the fans were definitely shell-shocked. And it was disappointing. From there on in, I felt we got in some okay positions. Once again, before they scored the second, we've had three very, very good chances, and at the moment, we're just not ruthless enough at home, and we're not showing enough quality, and we're not showing what we're all about at home. And I think that's been the big disappointment. Look, we know we've took nearly half our goals out of the team in Donaldson and Cottrell, but that's when players have to stand up and be counted and show a bit of quality. And at the moment, we're too easy to score against, and we're not working hard enough to score, not being ruthless enough to score. Simple as that.
Speaking of the early goal, how much pressure does that put on the players when you concede after that short period of time?
Well, it does, because we know that over 13 months we are what we are. We've been a very, very good counter-attacking side. And it seems to be that whenever we try to change something, we're not quite capable of doing it, which, is maybe my fault for not accepting that perhaps sixth in the table, which we were before today, is actually us almost at the top of our own little mini table, and which should be very positive. But I think we want more, and I think we're capable of more. And I think that's been the biggest frustration, against some of the teams down the bottom. We've not been creative enough to punish them. And we've allowed them to punish us too easily. You don't get me wrong, I felt as though Huddersfield came and actually played well today. You see them pressing the ball and not allowing us much time on the ball. And we seem to allow teams just a bit too much time. And the second goal's symptomatic, really. We have the ball on the halfway line, we make a very, very poor decision and a poor pass. And the lad just runs and literally bounces off one, runs past another, crosses it, and someone taps it in from 2 yards away. So as you can imagine, I'm really frustrated with the performance, and I've told the players that. I've said, look, we've got to sixth in the table today. Maybe for some of the players, that's we've got as far as we can get. So therefore, for me, I've got to ask critical decisions, and I've got to say to them, listen, which ones of you are going to be strong enough to push us forward? Because that's where we're going still. We're still going forwards. And I've maybe got to be a little bit more critical of one or two and demand a bit more.
Obviously a big game next week, travelling to Middlesbrough, who are also a form team up near the top of the table. Yeah,
it's not going to get any easier, and that was probably one of my fears with today, that if we don't put a good performance in, then we've got a massive game next week. We've lost 3 on the spin, so we're not the only ones. I think there's some teams up there. I think you look at someone like Reading have only won 1 in 9. I think QPR had only won 1 in 5 before the other day. I think Cardiff have only won 2 in 7. So I don't think we're the only ones feeling the heat, but certainly we've got to do better if we're going to start winning games of football. We know that if we can get through to January, still in and around it, I've got no doubt we're going to be a lot stronger. We've got players coming back, which of course we've missed, and I think we'll have the ability to change things. But January at the moment seems quite a long way off.
You talk about the form. We were 6th before the game. We've only dropped 1 place to 7. That tells you how competitive the Championship is.
Well, it does, and again, once again, and I don't want to make it sound as though that's acceptable for the performance, because it's certainly not. But overall, 28 points from 19 games to be sat in 7th. I'd have said that was a fantastic start. But at the moment, I think such was our early season form, that it almost feels like that's a failure at the minute. So I think we have to get a bit of balance back and a bit of composure back. And I won't say work harder, because we are working hard, but we're perhaps just not transferring that into the games at the moment. And maybe to play away from home the next game is probably not going to be a bad thing.